Hello, and welcome back to a brand new, exciting episode of Video Ditch, a podcast about video games hosted by me, myself, Sam, with Nick and Jake. And today we're joined by a very special guest from Mythward Entertainment. We've got Corey on the desk. Please, welcome.
What's up, everybody? Hi.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
Welcome. No worries. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Of course. Do you want to let the viewers and listeners know who you are and what you do at your company or with the game?
Sure. Yeah. So my name is Corey Kemper. I am it sounds weird saying, I'm the CEO of Mythward Entertainment, because let's be honest here, like I'm a small time indie, CEO that, you think about that and it sounds like such a big thing, but I still view myself as like just a hometown nerd in his bedroom making games, working away at his dream or whatever. But, on paper, I guess if we have to, I am the CEO. I'm the creative lead for Mythward Entertainment. The whole company is my baby, and I've been working on it for years. I've been working on our current title that we're working on is Conquest of Eldinar.
That's right.
It's a 3D, now it's a 3D. That was a recent announcement that we made, but it's an action RTS game. So, Warcraft, Command and Conquer, RTS, right? I think the genre has fallen into a little bit of a slump, but do everything in my power to bring it back. So give a good installment in the genre on Steam. But I've been working on it for years, and I'm more of on the art side of things. My other half is not here, but that is Ziad. He is my co-founder, and he's our CTO, and so he's hard at work on the game right now as we speak. He's programming every single night, and I'm more of the visual guy. So I'll do like marketing. I'll do every illustration, texture, environment, animation, whatever you've seen. I probably did it.
Some live action trailers, even.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's the other department who's in the other room right now. He's working on that.
Oh, yeah, I love how close knit you guys are.
Yeah, no, yeah. I just moved in another one of my friends into our house. Like my house is not a house; it's a battle station. This is the This is the Mythward offices. Is my house. Wow. So my marketer's out in the living room, and my video producer is out in the kitchen or whatever doing his thing, and you got the CEO artist in the bedroom doing his thing. So
we love to see it. Yeah, and we're very glad to have you here today. Thank you.
Well, thank you guys for having me. Yeah,
of course. Yeah, we'll be talking their current project, Conquest of Eldinar. We'll be taking a look back at the games that made Corey, and perhaps even looking beyond into the future. I mean, we've got our hands full, but there's always more to look ahead to. But
like I said, open book.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. With that, how are we all doing this evening, gentlemen? Nick, Jake, how are you guys doing right now?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. Just got back from the gym, put on this really thick flannel so that my grotesque bulging muscles don't upset anyone. So I'm feeling great.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Got a good pump going on. I feel like Arnold.
I also got back from the gym, by the way. Just gonna throw that in there. We were both there. I did pull today. What'd you do?
I was doing what was it? I have my notebook somewhere. I write it down in a little notebook, but it was back and triceps. So I feel like a balloon about to pop.
Nice. Nice.
Wow. Very good.
By the way, I just have to add real quick, by the way, like it is really windy here right now. And my lights have like flickered consistently for the past hour. So if I just vanish all of a sudden, you guys know that my power went out. I really hope that doesn't happen. Sure. Of all the nights it could have happened, it has to happen right now. But whatever. Yeah, so that's crossed. A fair warning.
All right. Thanks for the heads up.
No, I know all about that. I just got back from work. I'm doing well. A bit sleepy today. I had some long days, so forgive me if I'm seem a little bit out of it at the moment, but I'm stoked to talk about this game. So
love it. Jake is our resident RTS expert.
It's true.
Frankly.
I wouldn't say expert.
Well, he's the one that has the most experience in the genre. By far.
I love RTS.
I think.
What is it? 1,000 hours into League of Legends, and he just broke out of bronze. You were very impressed with him.
That's not RTS for one, but good try. But League there's probably like 5,000 hours plus. But I play a ton of AOE and all of them, and just
all of them. He says,
like
remember
Starcraft, I like Warcraft. But I thoroughly enjoy RTS games, tower defense. So this game is of the three of
Yeah.
us has definitely piqued my interest the
And
most.
right up his alley.
Nice.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, and how are you tonight, Corey?
I'm great.
Aside
I'm
from
really
the wind, the gym,
yeah, aside
yeah.
from the bushes whacking against my. I mean, I can hear it. Like my window's cracked, and I can hear
Frank is
things
really
slapping
good.
against my house. I'm kind of scared right now, but no. Which actually, I have to mention this. I have like videos of my phone that I will not be sharing with any human being ever. But like
Wonderful.
2 years ago, when we were still working on the game, in this house there was a power outage in my city here in Washington or whatever, and it lasted for like 3 days, and I was like right in the middle of one of those like, oh, I'm doing Conquest of Eldinar and nothing but Conquest of Eldinar. This is my life and purpose. I'm going to do this all day. And then the power hits and we lose it for 3 days. And so I have like, I'm bottlenecked because my computer is my workstation. And so just me and my roommate, we slowly lost our minds over the course of 3 days. We were like running around the house. We were like in the garage with like a katana, like chopping up like cardboard boxes for fun and like screaming and like throwing balls around. It's pretty crazy, but
wow.
Yeah, that was like a fever dream of 3 days. That's not going to repeat itself. All right, that's not going to repeat itself. But
wonderful.
Anyways, yes, life is good. I'm just now getting into. I'm like picking up 3D a lot more because with this whole transition that we've made recently with the game, we're going to need a lot more 3D assets in now, and so. I did 3D back in college, and it's fun, but I have like a lot of my roots as an artist are very like traditional, like I did lots of like comic books and stuff when I was a kid in school, and I used to draw and paint a lot, and I was good with like as texture art, like before I started working on this game, in my formative years as a young adult or whatever, I spent so much time working on like Minecraft like texture packs, right? Just texturing things in HD. So awesome. So I did that for years, and then I was finally like, why am I like making a mod for another game when like I could just actually make one myself, right? So but yeah, ever since this switch to 3D happened, it's like, all right, time to dust off the old college skills and get back into Blender again and whatnot. Nice. And so I just finished up like one of my first models, and it turned out fantastic. So I'm like high on the energy of discovery and innovation right now.
Okay, very cool. Very cool. Well, I think Oh, go for it, Jake, please.
I wanted to ask. I guess we could jump. Well, I'll save it.
Okay. I was just gonna say,
gaming history. So.
Yeah, kind of talking about the past. You're talking about your college days, but even before then, how about the beginning of your relationship with games? What's the story there? We don't have to spend a super long time on it if you do not like to, but as much or as little as you'd like to.
You'll have to stop me, by the way, because I'm like I have a bad reputation as like a rambler. I rant. I'm very detailed in my stories or whatever. So I'm gonna try to keep it concise, but my concise is like a small TED talk.
It's what we're here for. So we're giving you the stage.
All right, great.
Where did the journey begin?
Where did it begin? As much as I try to stay humble, right? And I don't like snowflake syndrome. Like, oh, I'm the chosen one. I'm special. It's like. However, that being said, I am special. I am special. I'm lucky. Is the better way to phrase it. I'm very, very lucky. Because I've been around a lot of people in my life. I like life coach friends and families too much. Because I just got lucky. Like.
Dude, I'm with you.
Hey, recognizing that is important.
I hear you, bro.
Recognizing that is important.
Yeah. I got lucky in a sense that I never had any second guesses. Like I never had any doubts on what I wanted to do with my life.
Wow.
And I think, just to get a little deep here for a second, I won't take it too far, but I grew up in a split household, and so you had mom's house, mom's family, and I had like 5 brothers and sisters. So my mom's family, super crazy and chaotic. Like everybody talks at like the volume of 11, and that is the standard. And it's loud, and there's kids running around everywhere, and she does daycare, and so there's 5 kids that are the blood family, and then you have all these other kids that are additional. So it's like I might as well lived in an orphanage or whatever. And that's my mom's house. That's where I'm stuck at most of the time, right?
Okay.
You you're scrounging through the pantry trying to get whatever food you can, and it's survival of the fittest,
Wow.
and it's hyper competitive. But then I had my dad's house, which I got to go to every other weekend. It was nice because, you know, all of my half brothers and sisters or whatever, their dads were kind of like, you know, they're kind of like losers. Let's be honest here. I won the lottery. My dad was actually pretty damn awesome, and he stuck around. And so for me, I got to go to my dad's house every other weekend, and he was just like the Disneyland dad, right? It was like when I go over to my dad's house, he was the fun one, because mom's house, not so much fun. Dad's house, really fun. And so,
interesting.
and he would, you know, and they were like, my mom's house is like super Christian, and he was like a lot more like not Christian and like free and like, oh, you want to watch that scary movie that your mom said you couldn't watch? Like, let's watch it. Oh, your mom said you can't play rated M games? Well, guess what? Like Halo,
here's GTA 3.
Yeah. Halo just came out. Let's go, you know, you're shooting aliens with guns and stuff. And it's wonderful. Like, let's go play Turok, you know, or something like that. Right. So, so I think, you know, I spent a lot of time kind of self-analyzing myself to try to figure out like how the hell I became this thing. Right. And I think if I had to put a guess on it, it has something to do with that was such a good escape for me as a child to go over to my dad's. And obviously, like I imitated him because I idolized him. And so, you know, he was good at video games, so I wanted to be good at video games. Yeah. He was good at art, so I started to draw. And also, it doesn't help that my dad's name is Corey, and so I was Corey Jr. So it clearly CJ, like
here we go again.
Yeah, it clearly seeped into like my psychology that I'm like the upgrade version of this one. So I have to do what he does and then just take it to the next level. And so by the age of 4 or 5 or whatever, by that early, by that early, it was very clear that like there was 2 defining characteristics of me. I'm a great artist and I love video games. And so going through elementary, middle school, high school, it was game development. There's never been another path for me. So yeah, that's why I'm lucky, right? Because lots of people struggle with their path in life, figure out what they want to do, and I never had that struggle. So, you know, I'm a lucky guy.
Very cool. Yes. And I love how tied to video games that is, you know, they meant so much to you, and now you want to make them as, you know, as meaningful pieces of creation. So
absolutely. I mean, I think it's the most powerful art form in the world. And also like it's the most powerful art form in the world because there is no medium that is as immersive as video games are. It's impossible.
You took the words out of my mouth.
Exactly. Yeah. Roger Ebert, eat your heart out.
Yeah. I mean, they're immersive, and you know, what was it? I can't even say these names without it being like, oh my God, you know, but I hopefully I'm not upsetting anybody here, but I watched that, the Joe Rogan, Elon Musk interview that they did recently. And they mentioned that thing
cancel this guy.
Cancel. Oh my God. I'm sorry. I watched the internet. Sorry. You know, but, please. You know, they mentioned that whole the surgeon thing, right? Where it's like like the surgeons that play video games had like a 30% higher or something like accuracy rate in their surgeries. So I'm just gonna throw it out there, like for all those people that are, you know, video games, brain rot, whatever. It's like it's like it's the most immersive,
stimulating.
It's stimulating, it's engaging, it gets you to like lock your mind in,
it's
and actually
deeply personal.
Even like SciShow did it, which is like a pretty well regarded YouTube channel for being fairly accurate with like, you know, scientific descriptions. Like they do very simple topics at times, but they don't really have controversy surrounding them. They're very intelligent people, and they did an episode I think just a week or 2 ago about how video games, how beneficial they can be. Obviously they talked about the addiction side, of course, which can't be denied, but like the benefits are insane. Like truly, and also how much they can expand your mind is crazy.
Go for it, Nick.
There's a profound difference between something like, you know, Killer 7 or you know, Final Fantasy 7. I'm a big fan of 7, and you know, mobile slop, to put it nicely. I feel like they're 2 different worlds.
Certainly.
Did you see my latest video on the channel?
Exactly.
Dude.
So people kept thinking I was making a mobile game, which is something I'd rather die than do.
I was like, I saw that. I was like, oh, I'm excited to interview this guy. That's cool.
Oh no, that's fake. Yeah.
I mean,
No,
No,
that's
that's
super
real.
cool.
Yeah.
yeah, video games will be keeping us sharp like well into our old age, I'm
Mhm.
sure. I think
Oh
like,
yeah.
cognition wise,
Yeah.
they're great.
I
for
think
us.
there's, I mean, going back to it, like as well, like back to the whole Corey origin story or whatever, right?
Yes,
Like
please take us back. Yeah, let's get
when
back
when
there.
I was at my mom's house, everybody, my mom being the hyper Christian or whatever that she was, she like we were not allowed to like leave the house ever. Go outside, make friends, go over to like friends' houses or whatever during school. Like that was not allowed. Like you were stuck at home. She just gave you a console, gave you a game or something, and then said, "Go to your room and like,
Wow.
go away."
Dream come true.
Which is why, like I say, like I might not have had a lot of friends or whatever growing up as a kid, and I might not have had a lot of adventure, but I did have a GameCube, and I did have, Ocarina of Time or whatever. I did have.
For sure.
I had
Access
Fable.
to that.
Yeah.
No,
I
totally.
had these
It's very
video
valuable.
games that were these immersive worlds where you got to go in and you got to be the hero and like go on an adventure and make choices. And that is something that is, especially when you're like a kid and your imagination is running wild. Like, dude, they take that stuff seriously. Like they love it. They get so immersed and they get so into it. And
that's how you experience life as
Yeah.
a kid. Like I experienced a lifetime in Fable at 10
Absolutely.
years old.
Which is like I sit here nowadays, right? And I'm making a game myself, and I'm like, my passion is just running rampant. And it's like I feel so lucky and gifted. And the reason why like I do this every single day and I'm never gonna give up is because I feel like the torch of responsibility has been passed on to me because I have all of this passion that I'm capable of exerting right now. And the only reason I have that is because brilliant creatives before me created the things that inspired me, right? If Ocarina of Time didn't exist, from all of those, the talented, people that made that game, or World of Warcraft or whatever, if a bunch of sweaty nerds in California or Japan or whatever weren't locked in an office doing crunch time, modeling and polygons and painting out textures and coming up with weird lore for these fish people or whatever, like this,
for sure.
These nerds that did this like changed lives. And so it is important to me that like I respect the ongoing legacy of like human creativity through the medium that is video games. And I want to play my part and push that forward with the greatest caliber of like quality and respect that I possibly can.
That's why we're all here.
Oh,
damn right.
I love it. I love to hear it.
Yeah.
Very cool.
You hit a sweet spot with Ocarina with me.
Oh yeah. I mean that's just like my go-to because
Me
like
too.
what kid didn't play that and didn't like fall in love, absolutely.
Couldn't beat it.
No.
It's just way too hard. But
yeah. I'd get like my older cousin to come in and be like, "Can you beat this boss for me?"
That's
Totally.
that's all part of it.
Yeah.
It's all part of the experience of it all. I love
Yeah,
it.
you guys will never understand the plight of the eldest brother.
I have an
Easy.
older brother. What are you talking
Yeah.
about? I'm
Wait a
the
minute. Like
oldest
Jake
brother.
is the older brother.
What are you
Yeah.
talking about?
No, I think I beat the games for him actually. Now looking back.
Okay.
I wasn't the eldest, but I was so competitive. Like, dude, me and
you were
all
just
of my
the
siblings,
best gamer.
I was the best.
Yeah.
I was the best.
Sure.
And I had a little ego too. And so yeah, like I would get all of my siblings to team up on me in Smash Brothers, and then I kick all of their asses.
Yeah.
And,
Do a 3v1.
very competitive.
Wow. I can see why you and Nick get along now.
Yeah, I still do that
putting
today.
I'm putting some dots
Yeah,
together.
Nick never lost that aspect.
Yeah,
cool.
well, it's important to be young at heart.
He has a tough time with team games, but he sure loves his competitive solo games.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, in regards to Conquest of Eldinar, being an RTS or kind of a hybrid of genres, however you want to describe it, what was your first experience or exposure to that genre, and when did you kind of fall in love with it, if you have, or decide that it was one of your favorites?
So like the RTS genre in general.
Yeah.
In general, yeah.
Curious too.
Well, I'd say there was kind of a, my God, please.
I
don't
saw
mind me.
that.
Yeah,
I
you
saw
see that?
visible
Yeah.
flicker.
Hopefully the microphone isn't catching too much of it, but it is very windy out there. Like things are hitting my house.
No, yeah, it's gonna hit us
There's
too.
like,
So
yeah. Slight, yeah.
Oh, really?
I'll be working late tomorrow.
Oh yeah. But yeah, so I mean, my dad raised me right. Like he started me off on like the original Nintendo, And then he was like, okay, now we're upgrading to like Atari, and now we're upgrading to Super Nintendo, and then we're upgrading to 64, and then we're upgrading to GameCube, and now we're doing Xbox, and now we're doing 360, and now we're doing PC. So like I worked my way.
Okay. I was gonna ask when PC
every
got
generation
introduced.
of like, you know, every generation. And eventually, you know, when I did do PC, right around, so I guess, you know, because I played vanilla WoW, I was very young.
Like
Don't get me wrong, like I didn't raid. I mostly just
Sure.
I made like a human paladin and ran around the forest like trying to figure out what the hell to do. So I played vanilla WoW, but let's be honest here, I you know, I through a kid's eyes.
Yeah, certainly.
You know,
It's like
and
how I play today.
yeah. Oh yeah. I was always looking for like free games to play. Like we'll get into the whole Flash game later because that definitely led into Eldinar. But as far as RTS goes, I think my first two experiences would have been was Command and Conquer 3 because my dad was really into that. And so then he was like, hey, come play Command and Conquer 3 with me. And my dad's weird. Like he'll always only ever play the humans in any game ever. Like he'll only ever play the human faction.
The same way.
Yeah. Like whatever the
He's a loyal guy. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And then I'm like, come in. I'm like, the Skrin. What the hell is the Skrin or whatever? It's like the alien race in Command and Conquer 3 or the Nod. What are those? You know, it's like I'll come in and play like the other cool, and then I'll fight my dad and I'll start kicking his ass. He'll be like, "Oh, you're cheating. You're using that one, you know, faction or whatever. That's not how you're supposed to. You're
using
play
the space wizards. They can beat my army men. This is
you're supposed to only play army men only. And it's like, I'm sorry, if you don't want to learn the other factions, then that's on you. You know, like, hey,
totally.
But yeah, so I it was a place to find, is a way for me to find belonging too, because my dad would also bring me along to like all of his LAN parties. My dad was a huge nerd, and so he would back in the day take his Xbox or his computer and he'd go over to like the bro's house and there'd be like, you
System
know,
Link
like,
multiplayer.
Exactly. LAN, you know, everybody's plugging in. We're having they're having like beers and chips or whatever. You know, I was too young at the time. I must have been, you know, 10, 12, something like that. And so, you know, I'm a growing up boy and I see all these like men, and it's like, you know, some people might be like, oh my God, like Arnold or whatever, or you know, Stallone or what, you know, like these more classic male role models. Yeah.
The masculine ideals.
The man's man. Yeah. No, dude, not me. I walked in, I see like, I see Dave or whatever, who's like, you know, 300 pounds and has a beard and has a bald spot. But dude, his level 70 Night Elf Death Knight or whatever is like insane.
Warcraft guy is my hero.
Absolutely. He was my hero. Don't even get me started on the Warcraft episode of South Park. That's like my favorite episode of anything ever. I can quote the entire thing. Absolutely. I've seen it a million times.
I got the bucket right here, you know? Yeah.
How do you destroy that which has no life?
So funny.
Yeah.
The bucket is so funny.
Yeah. I mean, that was also the first episode of South Park I had ever witnessed, is because
that's a great one.
Yeah, because the World of Warcraft craze hit, and my dad was a nerd and had all of his nerd friends, and they're doing LAN parties, and so they would play things and they would get involved in this culture. And then because I'm like the one on the outs, I wanted in so bad, so I would observe what these guys are playing and I would adopt it and try to get as good at it as possible so I could, you know, have belonging with in the group. Yeah, because I'm like the young rookie, you know, kid or whatever, and I'm not as good as like the men here. And it's like I wanted to like be competitive because I just thought that they were so cool. So they and then StarCraft 2 came out. And I was playing World of Warcraft all the time, and I had this friend at school named Ryan or whatever who's like, oh yeah, the Wrath of the Lich King expansion is coming out and Arthas is going to be in it. And I'm like, who's that? And he's like, what do you mean who's that? It's Arthas from Warcraft 3. And I'm like, what's that? And he's like, are you telling me right now that you've been playing World of Warcraft for like 2 years and you've never played Warcraft 3 and you like RTS? I'm like, I didn't know that this was a thing. Bro, and he went home. This is back in the day where he would go home. He got his Warcraft 3 discs and he let me in the box.
I remember those boxes, right?
The face on them. Yep. Go home, install it on your computer, and he's like, brace yourself. Guides. And I got immersed into Warcraft 3 for a couple of years right there. So yeah, I don't know. I guess in summary, to kind of go back to your point, is how, you know, well, Command and Conquer 3, StarCraft 2, Warcraft 3, like all of these things kind of hit me in that 2000, 2000s kind of era.
Yeah, mid 2000s.
Yep. And it spawned a lifelong obsession.
Yeah. All right. To that point, or with that point. Oh, go for it, Jake.
No, sorry. I think there's a delay. Go for it.
No, well, I guess just with those titles, with this genre, what aspects of it really like spoke to you or resonated with you, and like what is it in the genre that you value and that you kind of like to iterate upon with what you've been working on?
Well, I think, like we said, right, I played a lot of Zelda and stuff like that as a kid. And so I was more used to like third person games and whatnot. It's like I'm really good at RTS now, but that's not like I just overnight, right? Like it was a long
RTS is so hard.
It's so hard. It's so hard.
Complex.
I won't even play against people. Like I can't even beat them.
I can't play against people.
So bad.
My friends hate playing against me right now because I dwarf them in skill with it. So it's like I'll be playing StarCraft 2 with my friends right now, and they'll like be building up their army, be like, all right, they're ready to attack. And I'll like throw like 5% of my army at them to like make them feel like they have a chance. Meanwhile, like I have like 7 other armies like completely lined up around their kind of and they're like
I truly think RTS is like the top RTS players, like the best of the best RTS players. I personally think they are like the pinnacle of the best gamers.
Human intellect.
Honestly, just like gaming
is that
skill.
the appeal?
Like, I think RTS is the
so
hardest game genre to be good at. There's macro and micro, right? You're not just like a MOBA or a fighting game. Those are just pure mechanics with some strategy added, but so much mechanics. Where RTS, you have that. And some are different, right? StarCraft obviously being like the top of like probably micro, but then like the macro that you have to have in the back of your head while you're focusing so hard on being accurate with attack moving and everything else, like is so insane. It's so insane to me.
Yeah. So I get that. I'm glad that you mentioned that because you're kind of you're leaning into helping me answer the question, which is like, what is it that's so appealing about it to me? I'm at risk of sounding like a raging like narcissist. I'm like a visionary kind of person, right? Like I that's what it takes to be like a really good artist. I think you have to see the image that you want to create, and then it's just a matter of going through the steps to actually creating it, right? Okay. You have a vision, your imagination runs wild. This is the ultimate goal that I want to do. That's why like I also gravitate towards like survival games or whatnot. Like I put like 3,000.
You set a goal kind of far ahead, and then the process of meeting that goal.
Yeah, like when I play Ark or whatever with my friends, they'll be like, "Oh wow, I have like a wooden house.
My hut.
It's like a box or whatever." I'm like, "Oh, that's great. Yeah, you guys, you should come over.
Come to
I
the
have
temple.
Actually I've made like just castles, like labyrinthian castles in Ark where there's dungeons and there's like throne rooms and like living quarters, outer walls, pens, like everything's just perfectly like, because I just have like a vision of like the thing that I want to do, and then I work my way towards doing that. So I think that RTS in specific, it's a way that you can get like a nice kind of clean vertical slice experience where over the course of 20 to 40 minutes, maybe an hour. I've had a 2.5 hour StarCraft match once, but you have
is that fun?
You have
gone to sleep.
Me and my friends were absolutely, we refused to surrender. I refused to surrender in any game I ever played. Like, don't be on my team in like League or something, because I'm gonna like, I don't play League, but I do play Smite.
Dude, I love Smite.
I love Smite. Yeah, me and my friends, we play Smite all the time. Like I have, the second I got the F7, which is the don't surrender like button on the keyboard, I got the F7 icon. I have not changed it in 10 years. Wow. That is the only icon I will ever use. I have a lot of other cool icons, but it's about the philosophy.
I love it. I love a man of principle.
You cling on to dear life because you never know, right? Like a great movie, Castaway, right? You don't know what the tide is going to bring in the next day or whatever. If he would have taken his life or whatever, when at that one point where at the top of the mountain, right? It was the following day that the sail got blown into shore. So if he had done it that early, then he would have got the rest of the movie. Certainly. Yeah, it's a never surrender. Never.
No, I'm
Very
with
cool.
you, dude. My
Wow.
friends are like that too.
Mm-hmm.
Like Mental loses so many MOBA games just because, and RTS, like,
yeah,
because like if you just don't have a defeatist attitude, you're not just like, let's just get to the next one. It's like, no, let's stick it out. It's so much more rewarding to win those games.
Absolutely.
It's true.
So
Yeah, I have some friends that join me, and I have other friends that go against me, and they're like, dude, you're like wasting our time. Like, we are not going to win this. And I'm like, it's not about winning, it's about fighting.
Yeah, it's about
life,
the effort you put into it.
Watching
Yeah.
Like,
wow, I love it.
You get too attached with results-based thinking. It's like, the only thing I care about is winning in the perception of that. And it's like, how about you prove something to yourself that you have what it takes to make it to the finish line,
regardless
of
exactly.
Yeah, struggle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Every
claw your way to the top.
Opportunity to prove your own strength. Yes, I love it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Very cool. Wow. Very, very insightful answers. Thank you. This is I'm getting such like a good idea of
and this is the gameplay of Eldinar.
I'm a very philosophical person. What can I say?
I love that. I love
we always want to know gaming philosophy. That's one of the top questions. And so far, you're acing it.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much.
Let's get into Eldinar, yeah?
Yeah, let's get into Conquest of Eldinar. Okay. So how would you pitch it, right, to a viewer or listener that's just tuning in today? Like, what's Conquest of Eldinar? Why should I care about this?
Well, you caught me in a very turbulent time because like within the past month or whatever, we decided to make the shift from 2.5D to full on 3D now, which is a pretty massive for us. Yeah. And that's cool. And I can get into that a little bit, but to just try and give you like a little bit more of a broad kind of overview. It's a RTS like you guys have known and love. If you guys have ever played a Warcraft 3 or a StarCraft, an Age of Empire, Total War, whatever, it's a RTS. However, I'm much more of a fan of, I think that there's, I was trying to get into it, but now is a good time to kind of bring it back full circle. While I am a huge fan of the base building aspects and all of the micro, I think that it can be a little bit intimidating to new players. It can be a little inaccessible. The learning curve, it's so much easier for somebody to pick up something like Fortnite or whatever, right? Because it's just a third person shooter. It's the same old kind of thing. Minecraft is very accessible, okay, punch a tree, kill a pig, whatever, right? Sure. And so, but you get into a RTS and it's like, oh my God, there's 30 different units and tech upgrade trees and requirements and this, that, and you have to make sure you're like controlling them right and telling them there's so much
barrier to entry there. Yeah.
Barrier to entry. So I think that I would love to take a stab at the RTS genre that I have grown up with and loved so much. But I think I would like to do a couple of things with it. Obviously, the most important thing is I'd like to build my own world that supports a much larger variety of like races and creatures and factions, pull in some real world history, pull in some completely unique high fantasy concepts, and make a larger amount of factions than we've really ever seen before in this type of RTS. And so I think that will add a bunch of replayability to it, having this huge variety of characters that have fully fleshed out worlds and whatnot. And then, but as far as gameplay goes, I want to keep the skill ceiling where it is, but I want to lower that skill floor. I want to make the game more accessible to, I would love the idea that, kids could pick this up. And by the way, they have, when we featured the game at PAX and Geek Fest, tons of kids loved it. And they were like, dude, where's the T-Rex? Where's the T-Rex? I'm like, I know the T-Rex is coming. Calm down. We're going to get there eventually. Right. I only brought humans and orcs this year, but next year we'll bring the T-Rex. Right
on.
That's what RTS needs. It needs.
Absolutely.
It needs that.
Okay. Looking to deliver a shot in the arm to a tired genre.
Absolutely. Lower the skill floor and like just make the gameplay more immersive and like action packed, as cool as it is to kind of like select an entire army and then kind of like macro them, all these abilities and whatever going on. It's not very, you're not really competing with the game feel that you might get in like a Fortnite. I just keep saying Fortnite because it's such a popular like mainstream example. I don't play Fortnite, but it's a good example of clearly the game is popular because it has good feedback on controls, and that is it. Feedback and immersion is really important in kind of pulling in new players. So I think introducing more action like combat elements into an RTS, the idea of giving full player control to any unit on the entire map. Okay. That's so cool. That's cool. Super. Really cool. So I'm trying to strip back the micro elements of Conquest of Eldinar and really just have like a system where it's like, hey, select your army, head attack, problem solved. That's it.
That's nice.
You got it. Like every unit. That's not to say that the units don't have like the complicated RTS abilities, but we're really pushing our AI as far as we possibly can to make sure that every unit knows how to intelligently use its abilities. And sure, there, like I said, there is a higher skill ceiling. There are. I'm a big RTS guy, so you're telling me. Right. If there wasn't like a right click for auto cast or whatever on a certain ability, that would drive me crazy. If there wasn't control groups, that would drive me crazy. Like these things that you come to expect from the genre, they'll all still be here, but I'm creating a lot more new tools to make sure that the game is more accessible. It's easier to pick up. There's a larger emphasis being placed on the action combat where if you want to play as a T-Rex, right? Click the T-Rex, hit space. You're playing as a T-Rex now. Left click to bite, right click to stomp, whatever. Yeah. And you just get to have fun, just running around, messing stuff up and getting in there with that kind of action. And I hope it adds a new twist in the genre and people have a fun time playing it.
Totally.
Yeah, right on.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think it's easy to appreciate an effort made by someone who enjoys an established genre and is trying to iterate upon it, but not just like not just following design principles because they're part of it, like, oh well, it has this, so my game has to have such and such. All right. I love that you're kind of looking beyond that and trying to
using your own history.
And focusing on the I mean, you hit the nail on the head earlier when you said the RTS genre is unfortunately kind of waning, right? In the overall gaming scene. And I do agree with you that a large part of that is due to the barrier of entry being so great at this point. Those who play RTS have played RTS for like 20 years.
20 years.
20 plus. That are like 40 years old. I mean, it's and you don't see a lot of 17, 18 year olds.
I don't see any Zoomers hopping on.
Hopping on Age of Empires, StarCraft. No,
because there's so much to learn. There's it's so heavy. So that's really cool that's what your aim is, because that's really what the genre needs.
Well, and you see lots of like AAA studios right now. They'll just kind of dogpile onto whatever the popular trend is instead of taking a chance with your hundreds of millions of dollars and taking a chance. And actually, I guess that's kind of the problem, right? Is there do not spend $100 million, $500 million, whatever on a AAA game, because then like you have to get your return investment back. Exactly. So now you have to add in all these microtransactions. The game has to appeal to everybody instead of appealing to a core demographic, which is what you should be targeting, right? You should target your core demographic, your core kind of genre, your core niche, and say, well, how can we innovate in this genre and bring something new to the table and really please the people here? And just do that for like 10, 20 mil or something, because guess what? If you keep the risk investment that low, then it's not as big of a risk if it does flop. You can take more chances, and it's those chances that are going to pave the way for new innovation in the genre and push development forward instead of just let's do another FPS, let's do another battle royale,
another open world,
collectathon or whatever.
We are with you.
So you can confirm that Eldinar will not feature a battle pass in that case.
No, probably no.
Probably no MTX, no microtransactions.
No, I definitely don't. No, I
wonderful.
The way I pitch it all the time to people is I'm like, listen, like if you don't know me, nice to meet you. My name's Corey. I live and breathe Mythward Entertainment in my game. I want to do this for the next 60 years until I die from old age or whatever. Like there is absolutely nothing else that I want to do with my life. My entire life has been leading to this moment. And so why would I, risk my entire future because I just want to make a quick cash grab right now? I just want to squeeze people right now. It's like, that doesn't really seem like a smart business investment. Maybe if I wanted to go retire on a yacht, but like you could say, you could offer me $50 million right now but like, I can't do game development anymore and I will reject you. It's not about the money to me. It's like, this activity, this lifestyle is what gives me happiness. If I were limited from this, then there'd be no point in my life anymore. This is the only thing that I want to do. I cannot be negotiated with.
You're a gamer. We like that.
Absolutely.
Why don't you, if here's 50 mil, go make us a mobile game?
Oh, no. I don't know about that one.
No, I know. I'm just kidding.
I have to.
I'm with you, dude. I feel like get that shit out of here.
No, every time I see like, the brand new game come out, they'll show you the footage. For mobile. I'm out. See you guys later. Bye.
Like I'm sure there's some decent mobile games out there, but it's just like there's 99% of it's just fucking garbage. So like
I don't trust. I just don't trust them.
I don't trust
I don't trust them. Like, you say mobile, and I'm like, oh well, there's a lot of baggage that's associated with that by this point.
Totally.
And,
like I've heard like the Nier. I don't know if you've ever played the Nier genre or like the Nier games, like Nier Automata, Nier. I've heard that like that mobile game is good, but and I love that series. I love that world. I just can't bring myself to.
They need microtransactions.
They're always horrible.
That's the problem.
Always horrible. It's like Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis type.
You want to see the next cutscene? Give us $20. You can see tomorrow's cutscene today. Give us $100. You can see the next whole week of cutscenes. How's that sound? What a deal!
Yeah. I don't want to go on some sort of rant.
I
hate mobile games or whatever.
Heading back to.
But like, I'm trying to spare you guys because I could. Is the point? It's like I probably shouldn't.
Okay, with Conquest of Eldinar, let's get back to that.
Yeah.
Right. So
sure,
you're building an original fantasy universe, right? What are some of your favorites, and like what kind of bearing has that had on your role as a creator? And you mentioned kind of bringing real world history into the lore of Conquest of Eldinar. So I guess just broad strokes. How has it been developing the world?
What's your favorite part of developing? Like, is it like the lore, the art? I know you said you're an artist, but like, is it the what kind of piece inspires you the most? Is it the art, or is it like the lore? Is it the gameplay for you personally?
What inspires me the most? I mean, I have like my end goal, right? The end goal, my end game, right? Is like, I want to make something that topples Skyrim for the ultimate RTS, or sorry, not RTS, the ultimate RPG ever. That is like in my setting, in my sandbox. I want a game that destroys people's lives. That's the game that I want to make.
No, I love it.
That's the game that I want.
That's a great goal.
I want to create a.
If you can put Bethesda in the ground, I'm behind you 100%.
I'm after that throne. That's what I want.
With 26 re-releases, instead of 25, that's gonna be it's gonna be a banger.
It's such a I think it's important, right, that you set your goal for the stars or whatever, because then it forces you to you should set goal, right, when you're at the gym or whatever, right, you say you don't set the treadmill goal or whatever at 1 mile when you can run 1 mile. You set the goal at 3 miles and then you fail at 2 though, but it like gets in your head though, like when you're not going to stop at 1 mile when the goal is 3. That's embarrassing. Right. You're going to push yourself as hard and as far as you can, even though you can't make it to 3. You're gonna die at 2.
Try your best.
Exactly.
So work yourself to the point of vomiting. That's what you can say.
I'll tell like if I take Blizzard or Bethesda's throne someday and I make the ultimate RPG and whatnot, and it's like, I guess I can die happy. Like that, there's no greater honor in my life. That's the thing that I've always wanted, and so that is the goal.
Very
I
ambitious.
want that.
I love to hear it.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
ambitious. You know, am I going to succeed? I don't know. It's too early to
Sure.
tell. But I do know that it's a great North Star to like that I can
Yeah,
constantly
to be
move towards.
following.
For sure.
Yeah.
It-
And I want that game to be the most immersive, like, experience. You could lose yourself in it
Yeah,
and
like-
you could play one character for 5,000 hours or something, and you just keep going and going and going and have a second life in this game. That's what I
sure.
want. It's
Yeah,
going to be
yeah.
crazy.
With that being your end goal,
Mhm.
then how heavily is the lore going to be a focus of Conquest of Eldinar? Is it going to be very story driven, or is it going to be more of like something you'd rather show, not tell at this point?
I will
you have more opportunities, kind of dive deeper
I'll
into
give
it.
you the quick answer. That's the more before I ramble more. So in the game Conquest of Eldinar that is coming out soon with our very limited, small, humble indie team or whatever, we're going to keep it pretty light. We're going to focus more, and because I think that a lot of indies make this mistake. Trust me, I love story as much as the next guy. Like I could talk to you guys about the story that's in Eldinar and the characters.
I believe it.
I could talk to you about it for the next 36 hours straight. Like, I mean, I could go on and on and on. But like let's be honest here, a lot of that's not going to make it into the game and be able to be experienced in a very natural way. Because I think a lot of indies make the mistake that they sit there and they think about their story and their characters and the twist and the ending and this, that. And they get so wrapped up in that. And it's like, dude, you're making a video game. Like people come here to play a game. You have to make an engaging game with an engaging gameplay first. And then you can start to deliver
add
story.
That into the balance.
So
Exactly. It's
so
like,
true.
I mean,
really good perspective.
Yeah, I just don't think that making I hope I don't get in hot water for this, but I just don't think that making like a visual novel or something is like a great idea. Like, I mean, I guess like it works for some people.
Yeah, sure.
I live in Seattle, Washington. I go to a lot of indie game dev meetups. I meet indies from all over, and it usually comes down to like 3 or 4 genres. You got your 2D platformers, you got your visual novels. You have your like Stardew Valley clones,
the cozy
RPGs, and it's like this constant thing of they're always like pitching me their story and like hyping it up and you're this character. I'm like, but why do I care? Like why
playing?
Well, yeah, what is this? They always skip over the gameplay part. They just kind of say, oh, well, it's a 2D platformer, and maybe they add like 1 or 2 new mechanics or something like that, but it's not much. And then they really push their story like it's the thing that sells the feature. It's like, I think that's a critical mistake. I think you should try to focus on making a fun and exciting game that has really good gameplay, and then later you will have opportunities to deliver your story. I know that you care so much about. And so I have a massive world. I've been world building this for over 11 years at this point, and
love it.
I love the characters in it. They're like my children. I know I'm very big into philosophy, so I explore topics like power and control and loss and love and all these kinds of things that really, really resonate with me. I explore them in depth through all of these characters. But that being said, it's going to take a back seat. It's going to take a back seat for the large part, because when people boot up Conquest of Eldinar, the thing that they're going to be thinking is I want to play as a dragon and fly across the battlefield right now and set like 50 people on fire. That's what I want to do. I don't think they're thinking about, oh, the King of Graves, like, where did he come from? Like, what's his backstory? Like, nobody cares. Let's be honest here. I'm not established. Nobody cares who the King of Graves is. No, they want to play as a soldier and they want to go kill people. And that's it. So like, I got to deliver on that first before I can then start kind of expanding on it. And I'm fortunate enough to have a lot of like friends and whatnot, as you've probably seen our YouTube channel, you've seen our live action stuff.
Yeah, dude, that's gonna be the next question for sure.
Actually, well, I can kind of trail off into that too if you want.
That is the next question. Ask him, Jake. What were you gonna ask?
I can't. I just dude, your production value is so good, and it
is.
Thank you.
It's really good.
It's right behind you, right there.
Impressive,
and like everyone in those. Are those just like friends? The
Yeah.
actors. Dude,
Well,
they're
yep.
also good. That's crazy.
Well, thank you.
They're all talented. Like you guys are all talented,
Thank you
and
so much.
your production value is like legit. Like I wasn't for an indie dev to have. I mean,
Full
do you
blown
have?
live action,
Are some of
other
your
like
friends
mixed
like
media.
trailers.
video?
Yeah, I have
Yeah.
armor behind me. I'm sure you've noticed.
Yeah,
Yeah, dude.
listeners
Characters,
can't
so-
see, but Corey
It's
is like in
crazy.
some sort of subterranean armory.
Yeah,
setup.
my bedroom is a jungle. Like
Yeah.
you're in a forest right now. You're in a jungle. There's some suits of armor. There's a T-Rex head right there. I love Jurassic Park. Here's my Barbasol can. So
That's
there's
so
a
rad.
dinosaur faction in our game for a good reason.
Mm.
But
A Michael Crichton fan, everyone.
of course, absolutely. But to answer your question, so best friend is in the other room. We've been best friend for 15 years or whatever. We both, and also to tie it back to the kind of thing you were asking me before, you're asking me like what kind of fantasy history, things that inspire me, things that I love. Lord of the Rings, Jurassic Park, 300, Warcraft, Fable, Zelda. I love swords and fantasy and magic. That's like my home. That's my roots right there. I love, I'm very classic. And I think that comes from probably my admiration of Ocarina of Time as a kid. There's just something so
timeless
pure
aesthetics.
and timeless
So
about
true.
like the kid on the farm who's the chosen one who has to go on a life-changing journey to
The
save
magic
the princess
sword.
he gets the magic sword and has to go around and save people, and he has to eventually climb the castle to fight the Dark Lord at the top of the tower and slay him and save the prince, like and set the world right. Like that is the quintessential like human experience right there. Like every young man ever should like aspire to be Link in Ocarina of Time. And it's just Aragorn and Lord of the Rings and it's just it's incredible stuff, and that's my bread and butter. That's the kind of stuff that inspires me. I'm a very like Shakespearean, like melodramatic kind of person. I love my drama. I love my on the quest to defeat evil or whatever. I love Thrones. Game of Thrones was great in its peak, obviously.
Of course.
And just fantasy in general. Like I love fantasy. So growing up in school, met a friend in school, and he loved all of these things as well. And so he's my, my brother that I chose. And so he was always, and I loved, my dad was a big camera guy. My dad was a big camera guy. He recorded everything. I have so much footage from like my childhood. And so he got me a camera, and then my roommate or my best friend, he had a camera as well, and he loves film. And so we made a bunch of videos when we were teenagers in high school. We made videos all the time. And so I always had like this side hobby of I loved being a part of like video production and making films and stuff like this. But it was never like, I was like, I do love doing that, but I'm a game guy. Like ultimately, I'm I love watching movies, but do I want to watch a Warcraft movie or play a Warcraft game? I'm going to go with the game, right? Because I'm very much, I don't watch Let's Plays. It always baffled me when that like became like this huge thing that like people really got into. Yeah. Although I don't watch sports either. I'd rather just go and play them.
Exactly.
I'm not a passive person. I don't like to be a spectator. I like to get in there and do the thing. I don't get a lot of. I mean, sure, I like film. I'm not saying that I want to be Spider-Man and swing around on buildings. Like, well, actually, I mean that would be pretty cool. But like, I do love watching storytelling, of course. I love Lord of the Rings and all that, but there's something about getting to be in the driver's seat and have like creative control and getting to go on these journeys and make decisions yourself. That's just very appealing to me as a person.
And video games especially are going to deliver that for you.
Exactly. Totally. Yeah. And so, so he made film and we just synced up and he'd been kind of doing his own video projects for multiple years. I think it was really this PAX. I can kind of like let you get, I don't know if you guys are ever thinking about doing like game development or if you want to share this information with anyone else that you work with. But
we talk to a lot of indie developers. So
yeah. Okay. Well, I was at PAX. I think the biggest takeaway that I got from PAX, the most important piece of information we got is we met with this guy named Jesse. Yeah, it was Jesse. There was this game across from us. It was called Corrupt. And this guy was super cool, super nice. We're on like LinkedIn and all that. But he essentially told me these stories. He was talking about like he's been at like Activision and Warner Brothers and EA, and he's been at like all of like these massive like big places. Like he's been in a room with like Bobby Kotick. He was like a couple of people away
joy.
From him. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, and like
I was there,
dude. All the stories that he told me about like how like these like super rich like CEOs like how they talk to people, it's insane. It is insane. Oh yeah, like
the lack of humanity.
Oh yeah, it's insane. Like a bartender like will walk up and be like, no, I don't want that. They'll just like reach over the counter, grab the bottle that they want, and then pour it, and then slide it back to them, and like just not even make eye contact, and kind of just. He was like in a video call with somebody, and like a lower person like had an idea for like the game, and then like the CEO was like, "I'm sorry, who are you?" No, yeah, no, shush, like don't speak,
Lord.
It's anyways. Jesse talked about how working with game publishers, especially right now, is really risky and oftentimes bad, especially for indies, because they will just take you and flip you and milk you for all you're worth.
I can imagine.
Yeah. Like they offered to buy his company for $5 million. And like little peasants like us, we hear $5 million.
Yeah.
Okay, sign me up.
What's next 4 games?
Yeah. And then like as he was walking the building, he like overheard somebody in the other room saying like that they were just going to take his company and flip it to China for like 70 million. Ugh. So that's like 65 million he was never going to see for his company or whatever. So they do this stuff all the time. But what he said is that the real hack in the industry right now that like people are not paying enough attention to is multimedia. Take your game and go multimedia with it. Every single streamer on the planet right now, whether it's Amazon or Netflix or whatever, right? They all want to adapt game content. That's like the new frontier.
The transmedia frontier.
Everybody wants content to fill out their library, and they want all of these releases all the time. And we're moving away from books as a society because they're kind of fading out in popularity. And video games are becoming the new medium at which things are being adapted. Sonic movie, Minecraft movie, Mario movie, Warcraft movie, Assassin's Creed movie, like whatever, Arcane. Oh yeah, exactly. Like this stuff is all over the place now. And so if you can, he was saying that like, if you go down into Hollywood and like they'll have like thousands of pitches on their desk or whatever. But like, if you have a pitch that is associated with a gaming project, it's like, boom, approved stamp, boom, 6 million for you, 5 million for you, 6 million for you. Go on, get out. Like, here's your money. Like, go film us a pilot. Yeah. Like make take your video game, turn it multimedia, build a good story into it, which is, right. It's trying to do that as well. Take your game, go multimedia with it, and turn it into like a franchise that you can partner up with Netflix, go pitch something to Netflix.
Yeah, get my Amazon series.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's a lot in theory, it's a lot easier than it seems. But
that is a depressing thought that we're just not going to stop getting these shitty ass video games.
I know.
Hey, Arcane is one of the best damn things I've ever seen in my life.
Arcane is so fucking good.
These
two, they hate Riot. Well, Sam does. Sorry.
It's not for
no reason. Nick's never touched a Riot game. Sorry, this is gonna.
I've never played League. I've never played League before. I think Arcane is one of the best shows I've ever seen in my life.
It's so fucking.
It's insane.
There's artistry, undeniable artistry with Arcane.
Yeah. I just finished up the most recent batch of episodes. I almost freaking cried. When it's insane.
It's so good.
I was watching that. I'm like, okay, like we're gonna make a Conquest of Eldinar series someday. And I was like watching this. I was like, this is everything that I want this to be.
Yeah.
Like this is everything that I aspire to be. Is like this level of quality right here.
Yeah.
I wish part of me wishes like League didn't exist so Nick would watch it because it's so good.
That would do it.
It's so good.
Dude,
League of Legends.
Yeah, I've never played League before. I have no interest in playing that game, But this show is god tier. The show is insane.
I know Jake's been telling me to watch it for years, but I'll take your word for it. Now I'll watch it.
I can't recommend it highly enough.
Yeah. Someone else's word.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
It's so good.
Whatever
just the character writing, right? Like the writing is so good.
It's excellent. And the music, the art direction, like
it's some of the best animation I've ever seen. Yeah,
it's crazy. It's like every anime movie. Sorry.
The only thing with Arcane is like certainly it's such an amazing show, but the problem is it going to become the norm or is it an outlier? You know?
I think it's an outlier. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of mediocre game adaptations, but we're starting to get some good ones.
You mean you didn't like the Dragon's Dogma anime?
Here's my hot take. Here's my theory of the month. There's a lot of for some reason, there's a lot of movies coming out this December. But I guarantee you right now, there's only going to be one that anyone talks about. It's called Sonic the Hedgehog 3, all right? Shadow's going to show up, and it is going to steal the box
Keanu
office.
The second they put on Live and Learn, everyone in the theater is going to start screaming.
Oh, yeah. No, the second Keanu Reeves is like Chaos Control or whatever, everybody's going to start losing their mind. Yeah,
which I'm a huge Sonic fan, so like, I mean, as debilitating as that is to say, and B. But I'm excited to play the new one. I've heard it's really good. It's like the re-release.
Shadow Generations.
Because Generations was great. Generations was really good. I had a quick question for you, Corey. With the development, I always like to ask this with our developers. What is the hardest thing? And I have a follow-up with the transition from 2D to 3D. But what is the hardest, typically for you and your team? Like, what's the hardest thing you guys run into?
Okay. I'd say there's about three things. I'd say the biggest one would be like, it's difficult when you don't have funding. Let's be honest here. It's very difficult when you don't have funding because
be real. Yeah.
It's especially, I mean, maybe if I was making a visual novel, it'd be so much easier, right? Don't do that. I'm after that win. I am doing something ambitious. That's really ambitious. Let's be honest here. For a first time indie, I am doing something pretty crazy. But crazy is my middle name. I love challenge. Let's get after it. Let's do it. So, like I said, I love setting the bar high and pushing myself to try and reach that height, even if I fall short. But so this is an ambitious game, and when you don't have funding and you're asking normal sane people to tag along and help out with the journey, whether that's additional programmers or additional artists or whatever playtesters. Yeah, I mean, like we don't get me wrong, we have some additional crew members that are really talented on our team, but we've also like been through like 3, 4, 5 times the amount of people that we've had over the past 4 years. Like, you just tear through people, you'll have an interview with somebody, be like, hey, how's it going? Here's our game. This is what we're working on. We don't have money to pay you. And, but like, you do want to work for free. Like obviously like, hey, like once the company takes off, like you're going to be first up to like get a job. Like, of course we're going to keep you, but and so like my heart goes out to them because like I'm not entitled to anybody's time. To take a risk on me and on this game, that's like a lot to ask of a person. Like time is the only resource that any of us really have. And so to get somebody to coerce somebody into giving me that for free, that's a tall ask. And so you lose 3 times as many people as you keep. And so that can be, a little frustrating, especially you meet a person and you see their skill set and you're like, oh my God, this person's so cool. And imagine like if they stuck around and then they're out, they're gone like 2 weeks later, a month later or whatever. And so it's like, well, shoot, I like that person. That would have been cool. So I'd say that's like the biggest one, but I guess that's kind of like development adjacent. That's more of like company, like management kind of stuff.
No, dude, that's like talking about the actual answer I've ever heard, honestly.
Yeah. If you're talking about like the actual meat, like, oh, I'm in Unity or whatever, then I'd say effects and particles.
Really?
Pretty difficult for me in particular. Like just doing Unity, like particle systems and whatnot can be quite difficult, making sure that like we get the polish right. But sure, I'm really good at like characters and textures, concept art, animation. I'm really good at that kind of stuff. But like then you like, I mean, sure, I could like hand paint every single little keyframe of a particle or whatnot, but like it's a lot. Like getting the particles to look right. Like I'm going to the Unity asset store, bro. Like they come up with stuff that's way better than what I can do. And I could do this myself 80 hours later, or I could spend $15 on this particle effect pack right now and hope that nobody judges me too hard for it. And I love learning new things, and I look at the things that I don't know how to do very well. Like let's say like the 3D modeling recently or whatever, right? I look at the things that I don't know how to do very well, and it really excites me because it's like that's a new frontier, a new way that I can like expand my character and expand the borders of my knowledge out even further. I can become an even larger empire, in here. But there is an infinite pool of those kinds of things that surround you. And so, and you don't, like I said, time is the only resource we have. I only have so much time to learn things, and you have to pick and choose your battles. And so that's kind of like also the sad reality of things too, is like, I know you want to learn, particles and 3D modeling, this, that, but something that I tell people, and I guess to kind of bring this whole, little rant of mine full circle, people say, Rome wasn't built in a day. And I say, yeah. And guess what? It also wasn't built by one person. You should probably find more people to make your game, because making games is hard. And I know that you like want to keep it just to you, because then you get all the creative control, you get all the credit, you get all the money, you get all the whatever. Right. But it's like, why settle and make something so, so small when we could all be like pushing ourselves to make something grand like Rome.
Lay brick together.
Not to judge anyone who does like, they just want like their little kind of thing or whatever, right? But I'm like an ambitious person. I make something like Conquest of Eldinar, in its current form. I make this right now out of necessity. I making something I can with the resources that I have at this moment in time. But if you gave me $100 million or whatever, I'm not making Conquest of Eldinar. I'm making Conquest of Eldinar. If you get what I'm saying, right? Like we should all be trying to push the envelope as much as you possibly can and make the next best thing, instead of settling on making what we can make right now, right? So get people, get friends, con your best friend into learning programming, and get him to make your game with you, and just harass him if he says no.
What? I just got an amazing idea.
Nick, Jake, I think I know what we should do next.
What's
some games.
What's the transition? How has that been?
From 2.5 to 3D.
Here's the shocking thing, right? Really easy.
Really
easy. Just push that button.
I saw the video.
Click the convert. Button.
Okay. If you saw the video, then you know how hard it was. Which, by the way, that was like a leaf blower being blasted in my face. It was like in my kitchen, like crawling. I couldn't breathe, dude.
Those effects were great. Remind me of those practical effects. I love it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It really wasn't that bad, because believe it or not, but like we were always making a 3D game. We were just using an orthographic camera. Yeah. So the scene before, right, it was just, it looks like this 2D game, right? It was a 3D scene. It looked like a pop-up book. There was just like a little skinny floor, and then there was like all of these background layers that would be like, 1 and then 2 and then 3 and then 4, and then they'd each have like a parallax. So they'd move at like different speeds when you move the camera left and right. And so a couple of weeks ago, one day we're like, I don't know, we were doing some testing on the Storm Sage, and I just took the camera from orthographic and I switched it to perspective instead. And we were like, this doesn't look bad. This doesn't look awful. It looks pretty interesting. But it's hard to tell when you're this early, because now you have like these 2D characters that look like these little like cardboard cutouts that are all standing up and facing the camera, and then you have like this environment, which is like these planes and all of these different like layers that are moving around. And we decided to do like a secret project. We call it Project Loki, because I codename everything. And so that we
love
can
it.
just refer to it as Loki,
love
right?
it.
You know, I'm
That's
currently
awesome.
working on Project Hammer, but that was Project Loki.
I see.
And Project Loki, it was we're like, all right, just for shits and giggles here, let's take our game and let's push it through the perspective camera instead. Let's push it into 3D and like let's see what happens. We'll time box like maybe 5 days for it. Like, you know, let's see how far we can make it in just 5 days. But then like as we started working on it more and more and more, because it was very like we're gonna pitch what we have to the rest of the team and maybe our community and see how they all feel about it. And then we'll maybe start thinking about this a little bit, you know, a little taking it a little bit more seriously. But when me and Ziad, it was just the two of us, we started working on this. It was like, oh, dude, but like if we do this, then we can like have more player bases and we could like add more explorable areas to the map and we can like revamp this aiming mechanic to work this way. Oh, we could start implementing these 3D things or whatever. And like it was just an endless rabbit hole that just kept going deeper and deeper and deeper. That's and cool. It just revolutionized like the way that we were making our game. And it got to a point where we were like 5 days in or whatever, we're like looking over at each other, like, let's be honest here. This is the
future.
Yeah, this is not a demo. This is not a test. This is it. Like we have to do this because this is insane. Like what we took it from to what it is now.
As you were developing and testing the shift from perspectives, did you feel like the pace of the game changed dramatically, or the feel of controlling the character?
Yeah, I mean, there was like some obvious like big changes that we had to make. Like for example, in the kind of 2D vision that we had before, you could do a lot of XY aiming. You know, you can just kind of be aiming up and down, and then your character can sidestep to move on the depth axis, which is the Z axis. But we would just do a lot of XY, like aiming up and down. But when you're in like a 3D space now and you're kind of looking down at it more, that doesn't make as much sense. By the way, like this is an obvious thing that you probably didn't think about, but it's definitely the case. Like you can't do aiming in a game on 3 axes. That's not like something that you can do. You can only ever aim with 2 axes. There's no game where you can aim with 3 axes. Right. If you get what I'm saying, right?
It's all
like,
projection. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. You have to choose. You have to pick what you want because you can't have all 3. You want to do XZ aiming, XY aiming, ZX aiming, like
no
whatever.
What controller or anything you're using. Yeah.
Exactly. Like imagine if you're playing Call of Duty, right? You can aim left and right, up and down. Imagine if you also had to choose how far the bullet was going to go.
Right.
Oh, and then it's like, oh, I chose too far and the character's too close to me. And so I missed them. Like it's too much for the human brain to process at one given time. You know, you're going to blow it's too much. They need to juggle left and right, not left, right, and blight,
depth.
You know? It's too much. So we had to axe the y-axis and trade it for the z-axis and get a lot more x-z axis aiming going in. So a lot more like League, right? Like you're aiming on the floor with certain abilities like that. So
you're not aiming
implement more of that. Yeah. But I think just especially because like before, right? And obviously there's the whole mobile game comparison or whatever, but the thing that really sold me on this shift is the fact that I love this world and I've been building it for 11 years or whatever. And you're telling me I now get the opportunity I don't have to wait another 5-6 years or whatever to start working on an RPG before I get to start crafting like the world environment. I can start crafting worlds for Eldinar right now that you can fully walk around in and explore. Sign me up. That's of course that's what I want to do. I want people to be able to pick a character and run around and like just look at the environment. And see
get as much as they can from this.
Get immersed in it. Like it's just a lot more immersive now in this perspective. And
it's very cool.
And the way that it opened up multiplayer, it's like massive too. You know, we could have full on 3v3s now, 4v4s if we wanted to.
Oh, true.
And you just couldn't do that before. Like we were gonna try and do co-op before where you would like 2 players would like share a base, right? Because you only have left versus right side. There's only so much you can do with that. What are you going to do? Add a second base? Like what does that even look like? And so we were going to like do like a Batman Robin system where like one person would have the base and then like the other person's units would just also come out of that person's base or something like that. But with this new system, with the 3D, just go more traditional RTS with it, like multiple player bases. And it was, we were able to make an alarming amount of progress in like 3 days. Like,
yeah,
That's
I think that's a good problem, right?
yeah, it's good, which is why people are like, wow, this is a pretty big shift. It's like, well, not really. We were always making the game in 3D. All we did was shift the camera perspective and toss in some 3D assets, and Ziad maybe switched up some of the aiming mechanics and a couple of scripts here and there, and boom, like that. 5 days flat. I mean, it has longer term implications,
sure,
like you know, of course, but like out of the gate though, it wasn't actually that difficult to pull this off. Transition.
Cool. Yeah,
that's cool, man. It's really cool.
That being said, or did you have something, Jake?
No, that was. Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Oh no, I was just admiring it. That's neat. I thought that was going to be like such a difficult, arduous transition, but it sounds like it was pretty seamless, which is neat.
No, yeah,
and I mean, graphically, it looks like your backgrounds and stuff were really well done prior, and scenery and all that. But with the 3D transition in that video, the most recent video you released, it was like, oh wow, even that almost looks like it got like upscaled or something.
Popping a little more.
It looked really good, really flowing.
I spent a lot of time. I know I've been working on this kind of 2D version of the game, but the reason why I ever settled on doing the game this way initially in the first place is I was like, back in 2020 when I started working on this iteration of the game, I was like, listen here, Corey, like you might have to do this entire thing on your own, right? So you need to pick something that is in your comfort zone. You need to pick something realistic that you're good at. Yeah, you need to pick something that you're good at because you might have to do all of it. So, okay, you're a good illustrator. You're good at like drawing like textures and all that. All right, then make a 2D game. But I didn't want to make a platformer. There's a million of those. Like, come on. No, like I want to do an RTS or something like that. So it's like, all right, well, how can we do an RTS with 2D graphics? And it's like, well, you know, that the game that you played in the library at school back in 2004 or 5, Stick War, that was a pretty fun one.
Yeah.
And it had like player controlled units. That was pretty cool. What if we took that and just like took it a lot more seriously than a Flash game? What if we made like a fully fledged game out of that concept? And so I had fun working on that these past 4 years, and it still is that in its core. It just so happens to be that like a couple of weeks ago, we're like, nah, let's make it 3D and make a huge shift.
Upgrade the form. Yeah. That's interesting. Very cool.
It evolved over time. Yep.
Stick, we're glad to see your fellow Newgrounds alumni.
Newgrounds arcade games. Yep.
Always glad to see it.
I loved God, what was it called? It was that one game where you could draw lines and like your penguin was on like a sled.
Line Rider.
Yeah. Line Rider. Thank you.
LinkedRee Games.
Me being the artist that I am, I would do massive things with that.
Line Rider.
Oh my god.
It's like
I would like draw
2D
characters and get it to drive around on those.
Yeah, that was fun. Right on.
Okay. I think my sort of final questions about the game with the transition into 3D. Is there anything that you're like looking forward to developing, any systems you're looking forward to that's like now possible, you know, within this space that wasn't you weren't able to do before? Okay, very good.
Oh yeah. Nice. So now that we can do like full maps, there's like so many new mechanics and things that we can just kind of, because I've always wanted to make sure that like each and every map kind of has a reason for you to play it outside of it just being like a different
skin,
a different set of textures, a different skin, a different background or whatever. It's like, no, why am I playing on this map? Like what's like the feature of this map? And so we can take that initial batch of ideas and it's just popped off. I mean, we've been talking about it nonstop. Like the Crag map, which is like this Mordor volcanic kind of desolate lava.
Like
So I've been working on that the past week or two. And there's this whole thing where you know, you got like the more desolate areas, and then it comes down into a big ravine. A big gulch where there's like lava rivers everywhere. And so you have to be a lot more careful down there because like there will be lava geysers that will like spray lava if you get too close and whatnot.
Very cool.
And there's this cave in the back that you can kind of see. There's a banner hanging ahead of it. There's a big opening. And the cool thing is I was like, dude, we're doing 3D. We're doing player controlled units in 3D with big maps. Like we can do anything we want. We don't have to necessarily adhere entirely to RTS genre conventions. What if like we we want to push player controlled units as much as possible because that's the fun zone, right? We're investing all these resources, making sure that each and every single unit in the entire game has fun to use abilities and like good sound design and good like control and player feedback. So why would we go through all that effort to make all these units controllable to just to have everybody select like their army and then tell them to attack and then sit there and watch?
Right.
That wouldn't be a good idea. We want to encourage player control as much as well. Why don't we create some mechanics that are specifically for player controlled units? Okay, lava map. There's platforms that go into that cave, and there's a jump button, so you can take control of a footman, jump, do a little 3D platforming puzzle of jumping on these little lava platforms to go into the cave, and then you go back into that cave. And there's like a dragon's egg or something in there, and you can loot it, and it will immediately like give your faction like 1,000 gold or something like that. There's like bonus mechanics that we can bake into the environments.
More stuff like that.
Absolutely, that you can't do, and not only in any other RTS, but like we just couldn't do it before in the previous version because it was such a small map. There's not really. You're going left and right, and sure, we can bake a couple of mechanics, but it's always fundamentally just going to be a tug of war thing that's going to change how that tug of war works, as opposed to a full-on RTS map where we can have, explorable areas and mechanics that are independent of the battle that's going on. Before, it would have always been intrinsically tied to the battle, but now we can have things that are more independent. And by the way, fun thing on the Crag map, we're going to make it so. In the bottom right hand corner of the map, there's a little Easter egg where you can go down there, and there's going to be 2 little skeletons on the ground, and there's going to be a little ring next to them.
Of course,
you can pick it up, and if you go back to that cave and toss it into the lava, it'll make the volcano explode. So
nice.
I love
shit
like
that. All those little Easter eggs, secret, like
absolutely.
my uncle works for Nintendo, all those things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I love that because in RTS games, that is like I love RTS campaigns. I love RTS campaigns, and it's something that there's so seldom do you get like little things like bonus reasons to explore in an RTS campaign.
These maps,
and that's like half of what I want to do. I wish there was more games like just RTS that I could just explore half of the time. I wasn't time gated every mission or something, you know, like. So that's super cool that there's just like actual Easter eggs around the map.
We love to hear it.
I'll tell you what, I have one question for you guys before we wrap it up too.
Yeah.
What in all of fantasy and or history, like what is your favorite archetype? Like what's your favorite faction? What's your race, your favorite soldier, your favorite history or culture? Like what is like the thing that you really gravitate towards in fantasy and or history? Because I want to see if I got it yet, or if it's something I'm going to need to add in the future DLC. Come on.
Okay. So like a warrior type, like a unit type kind of thing.
Sure, or I guess more along the lines of like if there was like there's 16 factions in the game. There's going to be 16 factions in the game at launch, but is there a 17th or an 18th that I might need to add because I didn't deliver on the fantasy that you guys want? Like, what's your fantasy? What do you want?
Almost like a race in a way, or
sure, a race, a culture, a faction. What is it?
For me, I'm always a sucker for a half orc. I don't know what it is.
Half orcs.
Yeah, in between human and orc.
And like with like a high fan, like are they like barbarians or like what's like their
like
their
a bard
culture
for me for some reason.
Bards,
like actually going against the
Nick's an
orcish,
actor.
going against the orcish.
Nick is such an actor,
but
He's
they've
a drama
got the bloodlust within them, but they're actually going against like, no, I want to pursue my passions, but at the same time, the side of blood makes me smile. That kind of dynamic always interested me.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, within the realm of like concepts for your game, and like the only thing that I can really recall right now relating to it is like Dynasty Warriors for some reason.
Dynasty Warriors.
So the idea of like a wuxia kind of like almost Chinese mysticism. I've always appreciated that aspect of those games, like one guy with the spear fighting 100 men. Like
I will say that to kind of add, I'll let you get to yours pick in a second here, Jake. I will say that it is a highly intentional choice that the world map was designed with 4 like walls, right? Like that, where the continents, you can't see everything that's on the continent. Like I built this world from the ground up to be like exponentially expandable. Like it's baked.
Totally.
Yeah, it's baked into the world building and in the lore, right? That like the world of Eldinar is like this world where there's like an enormous amount of like races and cultures that are, spread out, from every corner of the world, and they're constantly in conflict with one another.
Mhm.
So it's not really a big shock to people, like when like a new race shows up or whatever, because it's like it's Tuesday here. That's the setting. That's the world, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of variety, and that's baked into it. And you combine that with the fact that I'm constantly like planting seeds for like other dark elves or void orcs or Cthulhu race in the bottom of the ocean or a pirate clan or whatever. Like I'm constantly planting these seeds all over the place. Sure, there's 16 factions, but like I have like at least pretty fleshed out concepts for at least like 32, 34, like that we could do hypothetically if we wanted to at some point. And so and then some. Like I'm building a world here where we're going to make short films next year, and we want to make like more YouTube videos, maybe animations at some point, more games in this franchise. We already know what like the next 2, 3, 4 games that we're going to make are. As we
one
work
of them's
our way.
a visual novel, right?
No, I mean this is no, like, I'm not keeping this one under the wraps. I've been very like open in expressing to people that I have always wanted to make a horror game. So the next game that we make after Conquest of Eldinar the title's a work in progress, but it will be a horror game set in the universe, and it will have something to do with the vampire faction.
Okay.
So,
wow.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. That'll start development here in a couple of years once we get
Very
this one
cool.
done.
Yeah.
So
applaud your ambition.
Yeah, that's
very cool.
I'm sorry to go back to you real quick, Sam. The point I was trying to make is that there is a lot of stuff out there outside of the 4 borders of that map. One of those places is Weylon. There is a Eldinar China out there somewhere, and there is an Eldinar Chinese faction. Are they in the core game right now? No. Could they be eventually? Probably, yeah. But yeah, there we go.
Right. Cool stuff. Yeah. All right.
Lay it on me, Jake.
Do you have a favorite archetype? Yeah.
I'm always a sucker for mages. Like mage factions.
What kind of mage?
I know. I'm trying to like pin it down. Like high mage alchemy in particular.
Okay.
I like alchemy just maybe because it's like no, not full metal. I mean, I love full metal, but that's not why. It's more just like I like magics that draw on. I love mathematics. I have a degree in mathematics. I have theoretical mathematics. Like I tutor kids in it still, even though I don't use it in my day to day. And I love when magic draws upon like
equations and formulas.
Because to me, in fantasy, there are engineers and there are those who tinker and stuff. But I love when what I think of like my ideal magic in like a world would be one where people are like studying it to get better, not just like it's like some feel thing that they just are born with naturally. Like that's fine if it exists, but I like when like you become a great mage because of like dedication you put towards the craft.
Studying the properties of this
like
thing.
High elves, right? They're like infinite, they live forever. They spend their times reading and studying like ancient magic kind of thing. So that's why I say alchemy, because it's like often tied in with chemistry and stuff. But like that kind of like as far as, because if I were to go to just like what's my favorite kind of like mythical thing, I mean it's like Zelda fantasy is my favorite. Like that's my favorite world, my favorite anything. So that doesn't really translate into what like a race would be in the game. So
but I got what you're saying. I mean,
a very nuanced answer.
From the magic nerds.
I loved it. Yeah.
All right. There's Calibor in our world, which is it's an island nation, and it's like the Hogwarts of Eldinar, right? It's like this massive like mage city where they study it like it's a science.
Cool.
They do.
Yeah.
And they're constantly like pushing the limits and trying to like discover new things. And they have like the mages guilds are like they're kind of like their emissaries, their departments where they kind of but Calibor is magic central, and that's where like you have like the Grand Archmage or whatever, and they're studying. There's the different schools and all that and whatnot, and so they have a big role to play in the lore. But I think maybe then once you boot up Eldinar for the first time, of course, you'll have to get Jamoai, unlock Jamoai quickly, and play Jamoai because they are the most powerful magic faction in the game, in the world. They're all about magic. They're the high elves, and they fled north like 1,000 years ago once the humans kicked them out, and so they've been like on a cold ice elf like vengeance, like
very cool. Yeah,
you know, they've been stocking up and preparing to reinvade the world and kind of bring ice and arcane back to everybody. So ice elves, play them.
Very
yeah,
cool.
they have a lot of
There
like
you go.
crowd control mechanics and like freezing people and teleporting and pissing them off. So
Ice is
they'll be
always my
super-
favorite too, so that's
Yeah.
super cool. Like I always
Yeah.
go with ice or lightning, but ice is
Mhm.
usually my go-to.
There
That's
you go.
cool.
Perfect for you.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hey, very cool. Well, Corey, we have. This has been such a pleasure. You know,
It really
thanks
has.
for
Really
coming
has.
on.
Ah,
Yeah,
ah, thank you.
Your
Thank you guys so
passion
much.
is
yeah. The passion is
fantastic.
palpable.
Keep me
You know,
awake.
we're
I'm more
wishing
like
you.
a disease. I'm less of a human and more of like the embodiment of passion. I'm here to like spread to you guys and dig roots
Well,
into your
it's
brain.
work.
Yeah,
Just
about
so
time. Yeah.
Because we're rooting
Yeah.
for you. You know,
Oh,
we're
thank
wishing
No,
you
for sure.
Thank you so much.
The best
Good pun.
successes.
Good
You
pun.
know, only the brightest things for you in the future.
Thank
You
you.
and your company. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely, man.
Yeah. To close out the episode before we get to the
Mhm.
plugs, any words of wisdom for prospective game devs that you'd like to leave them with?
Words of wisdom for prospective game devs. Well, like I said before, Rome was not only not built in a day, so stick to it, you know, but I was also not built by one person, so I'd recommend finding some help. But here's my like quick hot tip for you. Take your Windows, Mac, whatever. You take your alarm clock thing, your little countdown, run it every single day that you're on. I work like 10 times more effective whenever there's a clock staring me in the face, right? We're all sitting here at a computer. This is our comfort zone, right? You got Steam right there staring at you. You got YouTube right there staring at you. You know, you have all of these things that are staring at you. And it's so easy for you to get lost in escapism and kind of start doom scrolling and consuming content. If you want to avoid that, what you need to do is you need to get your development pipeline very organized. You know what you need to make, when you need to make it by, what's your deadlines, all this stuff. And you need to track every single hour that you work on this game. Do not let a single minute slip by. So when you are working on painting a new character or rigging a dragon or something, or typing a script for a character or something, on your other monitor or in the corner of your monitor, turn on your stopwatch thing and run it while you're working. Let it start racking up those minutes, because I guarantee you what's going to happen is you're not going to go and watch YouTube anymore. You're not going to go and scroll through Facebook, because the overwhelming guilt of
Right.
you sitting there,
Okay.
like
Yeah,
you're starting to lose yourself, right? And you're starting to doom scroll, and then you're going to look over to your left and you're raking in minutes for
Yeah.
doom scrolling. No, you're not going to do that. So you would have to actively make the choice to stop the clock so that you could go and doom scroll, right? I guarantee you, when a clock is staring you in the face, you are always going to be 3 times more productive than when you do not have a clock staring you in the face. So turn on that clock and track all of your hours that you put into it. So that way you can also look back in a couple of years and be like, oh my God, I put in like 4,000 hours. That's insane.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Totally.
But you can be proud of it too. So,
yeah. Hold yourself accountable. Turn that clock on. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Very cool. All right. Well, Corey, where can viewers, listeners find the game? Can they wishlist it on Steam right now?
Yes,
Is
you
there a
can wishlist
website?
it on Steam. There is you guys should definitely go and check out the website. I think I made a really awesome one, www.mythwardentertainment.com. I spent like 2 months, like right after PAX, because we started getting so many new people into our Discord, which you should also join.
There you go.
We started getting so many new people into our community that wanted to know more about like the world and the factions and the characters and the setting and like all of this stuff. So I went, and also my other devs were like, you know, our website kind of sucks. You know, don't you think you could do better? And I get like, don't challenge me. Don't challenge me. If you challenge me, I'm gonna be like, now I have to prove everybody wrong.
Clearly,
like I have to go and
seems
like,
to be, yeah.
yeah. And so they'll be like, and then people use that to manipulate me. It's very easily, because they'll just be like, are you sure you could do that?
Are you sure you could come
Yeah.
on for another podcast episode? I don't know, dude.
Yeah,
I
you
don't
probably
know if you
couldn't.
could.
Yeah, you're probably not
Yeah.
cool enough to do that. Like,
He
I'm sorry.
wouldn't do
He
it.
wouldn't
What
even
if-
dare.
Yeah, right.
Would you just
Marty
see-
McFly.
Absolutely. Yeah. So So I went and I overhauled the ever loving shit out of that website. And there's like pages and pages and pages of like game details and custom assets. There's a faction breakdown page for each and every faction that has paragraphs and paragraphs of lore typed out for all
Hell
16
yeah,
factions. There's an explorable world map where you can open up the world map and click on which region you want to get to, and then that takes you to a new region. And then there's points of interest on the map that you can click on to read and learn more about the setting of the world. And I'm going to keep adding to it over time. And so yeah, go check out the website. And
plug it again.
MythwardEntertainment.com.
www.mythwardentertainment.com.
In the description below.
And honestly, that's really the one place you need to go, because if you go there and you like what you see, guess what? In the top right hand corner, there's like a buttons to all of the other things on the website. Like it'll take you to the YouTube, it'll take you to the Discord, it'll take you to the Instagram, it'll take you to all the things. But just stop by the website if you need any convincing on if Mythward and if Conquest of Eldinar is something to root for. Go to the website and tell me it isn't. I dare you.
Dude, this is crazy.
Thank you.
This is crazy. I'm on
Very
it.
good.
I'm on it. I can vouch. I was checking it out while you were talking about it. That's
really? Yeah.
That's impressive, dog. That's so
Thank
crazy.
you. Thank you.
Holy shit. That's right.
Yeah.
That
And
design
if you
baffles me.
Just don't challenge me to things, and then we'll have no problem.
Very impressive.
Yeah.
And if you liked what you heard, what you watched today, we've been Video Ditch Podcast. We'll leave all our information in the description below. I've been Sam, joined by Nick, Jake, and Corey. Thanks again for joining us.
Yes.
Thanks again for listening, everybody. Conquest of Eldinar. When can people expect to get hands on it? In any form.
Absolutely. There will be a demo releasing next summer. And the plan is to have 3 playable factions. It'll be on Steam. 3 playable factions, maybe 4 or 5 maps. You'll get to play as the humans, the orcs, and the undead. And you will get to play the game early and for free. And let us know what you think about it. And then show up at PAX next year, because we're going to get a booth that's twice as big. And we're going to bring even more factions and content to PAX next year. So as far as the full release, TBD.
Sure.
TBD.
Hey, take your time, because you're clearly working on something that you
want to get it right.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, take that time. Well,
yeah, we'll follow your journey.
We'll be waiting.
Yeah, thank you again, Corey. Thank you, everybody. Good night. Take care of yourselves. Until next time.
Keep on gaming in the free world.
Yeah.